The following is a production of DallasCowboys.com and the Dallas Cowboys Football Club.
How about them Cowboys?
Yeah! Go Cowboys!
This is Cowboys StoryLine with Nick Eatman.
What is up, everyone? We are back. Cowboys StoryLine. Feels like it's been a long time, especially now we're doing these shows once a week. It feels a long time ago since it was last Tuesday when we did the show. Here we are, Tuesday, January 23rd. We're back to the weekly format. Of course, StoryLine, we're going to go twice a week. We go on Tuesdays and Thursdays at 1 o'clock. It's been a while since I've said good afternoon on a StoryLine. We did that back in training camp. Of course, different time slots mean different schedules for you guys. So I'm kind of curious on, are we going to have some of the same callers that we had before? Maybe we pick up some new callers. Maybe a little bit of both. So excited about that. The best part about the 1 o'clock for me, maybe not for Chris Beam in the back, is that we really don't have another show behind us here like we've had in the past. Of course, with the 10 o'clock time slot, we had Cowboys break there at 11. And I'd had Broadus coming through the door, and Derek looking at his watch, We don't have that right now, so we can go longer if we need to. We'll see what happens there. So the plan is to go about an hour, but if the phones are ringing off the hook, we'll stay for a little bit, as long as Chris doesn't have to leave or anything like that. So that's kind of the reason why we went to the afternoon. See if we can have a little bit longer show, give you guys an opportunity to call in, because I'm sure you have things to say. A lot going on, even though there's not a lot going on, and that's what's weird about the offseason. There's always things, there's questions to answer, there's all stuff happening, but what you want to be happening is playing for an NFC Championship game. Again, I don't know anything about that. All right, let's get going here. 888-855-2297. You can call, you can text 817-290-3298. We're going to try to stay on the text line as well. We know a lot of people that can't call, that they like to throw their opinions out there as well, so we're monitoring that as well. But we'll start with the phones. We'll go to Brian in Kansas City. Brian, what's up?
Good afternoon, sir.
How are you?
Well, we had an inclement weather day, so I'm a substitute teacher.
Oh.
So I'm off. I had just got done telling you on your last show, I was like, hey, I don't think I can call on Tuesday afternoons.
Yeah, well,
so
you can,
I got
though.
lucky.
Yeah, they're in Kansas City, Missouri, which is also the Show Me State, just in case anyone's keeping track of that.
In case anybody wants to say it's California.
Yeah. Hey, that was a heated exchange. My guy was upset, and I don't blame him. A lot of people are upset. I was pissed off too. So I get it. What do you got, Brian? What's on your mind?
I just got a couple things for you today. So one is, I want your opinion, and then I want to know what you think the Cowboys are going to do. What's your – and then I got a player that I'd like to hear a little bit more, an older player that I want to hear something about.
All right.
For me, I don't think it's even close. I thought it should have been offensive line last year. I want offensive line. I want front and center this offseason.
Literally front and center?
Well, I told you last year, when they took – Schoonmaker instead of Osiris Torrance in the second round, I smashed my remote.
Whoa. Yeah.
I couldn't believe, every pundit in the world said the biggest need for the Cowboys was offensive line, and they didn't do it. And that's what I'm hoping for, that one of these, I've listened to enough of the draft shows on you guys and G-Bag Nation to hear that it's a really good tackle class, and there's some really good centers. So I'm hoping that's so. But I want to know what your priorities are, and then what do you think the Cowboys are going to do? And then for my old-time player, I'm going to stick with my guns on I love hearing about people that work there. How about any story you got on Danny McRae, man, and I'll hang up. Have a great one.
Well, it's funny you say that, because I just finished lunch maybe 10 minutes ago with Danny McRae, who he's boy, where do I even start with that? But let me wait on that one. Offensive line. I agree with you that it's a priority. It's going to be a priority. And the interesting thing about what the team is going to do is, it's tough because you still don't know, free agency comes first. So they always like to put Band-Aids on certain positions just so you don't have to go into a draft going, we have to get this. Because nobody wants that. That's when people will jump ahead of you in the trade and all that if everyone knows you need this. And where they're going to be picking 24, it's not good to be saying I need anything unless it's like a kicker or a punter or something like that, which you know you're going to get first dibs on. But even at center, if there is a guy there, I mean, everyone needs a good center too. So if there's a really good quality center, he may not last that long. I think that they will. I think they'll go to offensive line, early in the draft. I mean, first, second, or third round. They have to. They have to keep getting offensive line. But it's just really hard to answer draft questions in January, knowing that you don't know who your center is going to be. Biotis is a free agent. I don't think he returns. I think he goes and gets money somewhere else. And I think that deep down they'll be fine with that. At running back, don't know. I mean, who knows? Who knows who the running back is? I don't know if running back's a good spot there at 24 either this particular year. But I personally, I would just keep throwing in resources at that offensive line because you have to run the football better. And I think that you can do a better job of running the ball by fixing the line than you can if you try to go get this dynamic back. Because if he's that dynamic that can run through a line that's just okay, he's not lasting until 24. And, I think we saw that last year. A couple of running backs went in the top 12. I think teams are looking at value of really good backs, and I'm not even sure there is that type of back in this draft. Danny McCray. Question on Danny McCray. I mean, God, there's so many. I mean, I really, really liked him as a player. We got to know him now a little bit. He's an outstanding person. But, I just remember talking to him, and he was like, he was an undrafted free agent, and I was like, wearing number 40, huh? Undrafted from an SEC school, number 40. And he was like, yeah. Got big shoes to fill, and he was like, I don't know what you're talking about. I was like, Bill Bates, special team star, number 40, played at Tennessee. He was like, no. I was like, you never heard of Bill Bates? He's like, no, not really. But, and why would he? But then he goes and leads the team in special teams tackles 2 years in a row, and, started being mentioned in the same sentence with guys that have done it like Bill Bates, and so I certainly grew an appreciation for that. But I could probably tell 10, 15 funny stories of Danny McCray. And, I actually pick his brain sometimes because I'm like, you're on the challenge, you're on with, I used to watch those MTV challenges and Real World, Road Rules, all that stuff. And, he's on here doing these challenges with some of these people that used to watch on TV. I think that's kind of cool too. So anyways, that's Danny McCray. All right, let's move on. Let's go to Joe in Stamford. What's up, Joe?
Hey, Nick. How are you, sir?
I'm good. How are you doing? You made it. 1 o'clock.
Yeah. I took a hiatus from all Cowboys media. In fact, I didn't even finish watching the game until last night. Yeah, I about the middle of the third quarter, I got up. I don't ever do that, but I just couldn't take it anymore. I was really pissed off.
How'd it look? How'd it look like a week later?
Well, still like crap.
But you're like, Jake Ferguson catching touchdowns.
Well, I was like, well, that was decent. What some of the stuff that happened, but they were playing against second stringers and umbrella defense, and I don't take a lot from that. I'll be honest with you. I was glad to see Michael Gallup get a little bit more looks. I think it was cool that Dak sort of said, okay, it's CD and I can't figure this out. I've got to turn to somebody. And the fact that he went to Gallup shows how he feels about him. So I think that's a positive thing, and I do agree. I think Michael will be coming back this year. Two things I wanted to cover. I've got a bunch of things, but we've got the whole offseason to talk. So the first thing is the coaching. So, whether we agree or disagree, Mike McCarthy's coming back, and it looks like Dan Quinn will come back if he doesn't get a new job. I don't know how I feel about any of that. The things that bug me the most about the coaching is, well, I don't know if the most. It's everything pretty much. So not only did we get totally dominated X's and O's wise, but we have had an absolute lack of discipline the entire season, and it has been a story year after year of being one of the most highly penalized teams in the NFL. So I'm really sick of that. I don't feel like they're being held accountable. I don't know if Mike can figure out the lack of discipline thing. The X's and O's thing, I think, really studying these teams that are game planning so much better and beating them just literally wide open, crazy how wide open those guys were getting. And the fact that our defense, it's just crazy on both sides of the ball how bad we got out-coached. That part of it I think they can figure out. But the lack of discipline thing, it seems like he would have figured that out by now. And, you can only go back to the coaches, man. You can only go back to them.
Yeah, I've wrestled with that for 20 years. I don't know what you do with discipline issues on penalties. This is in high school. Laps. I don't know. I really don't know. Benching players.
It's hard to hold men accountable now because it's just generationally a different thing. So what Mike might have done 15 to 20 years ago to 25-year-old men, he just can't do now.
I don't think they put enough emphasis. Now, I'm not saying just the Cowboys. I think some teams don't put as much emphasis on getting players that understand the game, that really understand, that are playing, that like football. Because there's guys out there that don't really like football, but they're good at it and they can play it, but they don't really understand the games. They don't understand situational football. They don't understand that it's not okay to hit a player in the face here because he said a name to you or whatever, and it's 3rd and 12, and now you're back on the field. I don't think sometimes the Cowboys have the smartest players out there in certain situations, and that's something you can figure out in the draft. That should be a tiebreaker to me. So I don't know.
We do good on talent, but, that and character-wise, I think we struggle. I'll be honest with you. The most talented player on the team is extremely low character, in my opinion. Now, it may just be a maturity thing or whatever, but I have been highly disappointed in Micah Parsons, the way he talks about his teammates, the way he's always trying to recruit better players onto the team. I think the best thing Micah could do this offseason is to learn how to shut his mouth and gain a little bit of maturity and character. Yeah. And I think that goes right along with everything else that I see with this team is a lot of talent, not a lot of character, not a lot of discipline. And it's getting old. I'm never going to stop rooting for the Cowboys. But, man, I can't even be around people when I watch the games because it pisses me off so much sometimes. And I know that's weird to be so I can't help but to root for them, but I want to have joy from it, not anger. And that sucks to be so pissed off about the thing you care the most about. So, one other thing. All
right, Joe, let's be quick.
Okay.
What do you got?
You know what? Yeah, we'll
That's
wait
okay. It's okay. Let's be quick about it. Let's go.
Okay. So I don't see how we're going to sign Dak, CD, and Micah to the max contracts that they're all going to demand. I just don't see it. Mm-hmm. I don't know what the solution is. I know everybody thinks that they're wizards as far as the salary cap goes, but I just don't see how we can sign all three of those guys. And if I had my choice, I'd get 2 number ones for Micah Parsons and move on.
All right.
Have a good day, bro.
All right, thanks. Not touching that one right now. They don't have to sign those guys to max deals this year. They don't have to sign any of them to any contract this year, those 3 guys. It is going to be a challenge. They could probably sign 1 or 2 of them and maybe create some space, maybe CD. So they really don't have to do that right now. All right. A lot of stuff to touch there. I think that was just probably more just venting than anything. Good stuff, though, always. All right, let's go to a text question before we get on the line here. This is from Dan in Philly. He says, the only thing worse than Cowboys' early exit to the playoff is StoryLine only twice a week. Appreciate that. But if you think about it, most of these other shows are going once. So I feel like it's a treat for us to go twice. Hopefully you guys see it that way. He says, if Quinn does leave, how does this affect the rest of the defensive staff? I would imagine he'll be taking some of them with him. And his blast from the past is Alfredo Roberts. Fredo Roberts. I didn't really cover him. Yeah, he Miami guy for sure. He knew a lot of those guys, the Jimmy coaches and Michael Irvin and all those stuff. But it seems like they always had like a second or third tight end that was that didn't do a whole lot, blocked a lot, and then every once in a while would catch a touchdown pass. All right. Defensive coaches. Yeah, I think if Dan does leave, I think he'll take some. They'll have to decide if one of these coaches is going to be the coordinator here. Would it be a Joe Witt? Would it be a Al Harris? Maybe. Does he take somebody with him? Yeah, a lot of moving parts here for sure. All right, let's go. Rob in Vegas.
Hey, Nick.
What's up?
Well, he's back. We knew McCarthy was going to come back, even though I didn't want him back, but I knew Jerry wasn't. Jerry wants to be comfortable. He wants to win, but being comfortable is more important right now. And he only made 2 uncomfortable moves his whole life as owner with Jimmy and Bill Parcells because he needed something in return. The rest, he hired some scrub coaches, if you really think about it. Chan Gailey and Dave Campo had no business being a coach for the Dallas Cowboys.
Yeah, but this isn't one of those situations. I mean, like,
No,
I don't think this is that. This is.
Well, I think it is. I think it's. Let's face it. You had 2 great coaches available, Harbaugh and Belichick, which is never happens. And if you're not gonna pull the trigger on those 2 guys, and you're sticking with McCarthy, then to me you're just afraid of change, and you don't want to be uncomfortable at 80 years old or whatever he is. Yeah. And I get it. I mean, he's the owner of the team, and this is what we've seen for 30 years. But, I also have changed my mind after watching the playoffs and watching these teams. I always felt you needed a top quarterback to win in this league, and I don't believe that anymore. I think the best model now is what the 49ers do. You build a really good roster on both sides of the ball. You put in a good quarterback who's not killing you money-wise, and that's the way you should build a team. And that's what the Cowboys should do. They should number one, turn around and see if they could trade Micah Parsons in the offseason. Call up Chicago. We don't know if Chicago's keeping Justin Fields. Call up Chicago and call up the Chargers, who are drafting 5th, and they're not taking a quarterback, and say, hey, what would it take for me to get your spot? I give you Micah Parsons and whatever. And then you could go get your number 1 quarterback. You let Dak play out the rest of his contract, because there's no way you could pay this guy $55+ million. There's only one quarterback that's delivered making that kind of money, and that's Patrick Mahomes. The rest have not. We'll see what Lamar Jackson does, but that's the only quarterback that justifies his money. Everybody else just spinning their wheels and getting eaten alive by the salary cap. And I just think if you could make that happen, I think that's the way that they could build a team. We saw when you surround – Dak just needs too much help. I mean, leading rushes, leading wide receivers, just too much. And then it leaves too many other holes. So, I mean, look at Baker Mayfield. I don't know what Baker Mayfield is going to demand in the offseason, 30 maybe? But, heck, I would rather have a $30 million Baker Mayfield than a $60 million Dak Prescott. Oof. So I just think that's a better model. It's a more sustainable model than having a quarterback who, God forbid, he gets hurt like Aaron Rodgers did. I mean, second play, season's over. But if you had a really good team built around him, maybe you could weather that more. But the Cowboys, I think, need to think about that. I know they're probably not going to, because Jerry wants to be relevant for 17 weeks, and I think he feels, if I'm in the hunt for 17 weeks, I get to the playoffs, I'm on TV a lot, and I'm in the conversation a lot longer than 3 weeks in the playoffs.
I think there's more to it than that, though. Honestly, Rob. I mean, it's not about being relevant. It's about I don't think he sees it that way. I think you're kind of saying the same thing. I think he wants to have a really good football team that gives himself a chance in the playoffs.
But we don't have a really good team. We have really good players, but we don't have a good team. We don't have any linebackers. We don't have a good defensive line. Maybe on 3rd and 8, we thought we did, but we didn't at the end. Micah Parsons needs to be playing middle line. If you're keeping him, he needs to go back to middle linebacker.
Yeah.
He fixes your run game, and he could still rush. And he fixes your pay because
I'm just going to say this.
Defensive end to get $30 million.
I'm just going to say this. He doesn't want to do that.
No, I know he doesn't. And that's why I say get on the phone with Chicago.
And that's a problem. That's a problem, yeah.
Yeah. Get on the phone with Chicago and see if they're keeping Justin Fields. Get on the phone with the Chargers and say, hey, would you be interested in giving up your 5th pick for Micah Parsons? And I don't know, maybe you got to throw something else in. Because you're right. He's going to want to be a defensive end at 245 pounds, which he cannot do for 17 games. He could do it for the first 8 or 9, and then he always tails off because he wants to get $30 million a year. And then if you say to Mike, okay, you want to be defensive end, you got to gain 30 pounds, well, then he's not the same guy. So to me, you have to put him at middle linebacker, and now you're going to have a disgruntled guy that we already see he's immature. So that's my thing. Shop it. See what happens.
All right. Thanks for the call, Rob. And you're right. I mean, I just saw a stat. Somebody showed me this stat the other day that they found. I didn't find this, but I'm sure you guys have seen some of it too. Micah's got 40 sacks in his career, and 32 of them have come in September, October, and November. In 33 games that he's played in September, October, and November, I think it's 20-something games, 24 games he's played in December and January. May only be 20. He only has 8 sacks. He has 8 sacks in December and January, 32 in the first 3 months. So, I don't know. Is he wearing down? I mean, it sure does look like it, when you think about that in his 3 seasons. But, all right, let's go to Dylan in Northport, Florida.
Hey, Nick.
What is up? I love it. Honestly, man, this is what I love. We switched the show. We switched it up from 10 in the morning to 1, and I've gotten 4 calls so far, and I'm not sure who else is going to call, but I've got probably the 4 of the guys. I don't mean to leave people out, but when you think of, and I'm going to come up with, I'm going to do this. I'm going to have the all StoryLine team. First year, first annual, like Madden. We're going to have the all StoryLine team. And I can promise you these 4 people that have called, including yourself, are going to be on it. So
hell yeah,
that's what I love. I love the fact that you guys, hey, what time? 1 o'clock? All right, I guess I'll wait a few hours. We're in. So sorry, but that's good to see. We're going to get some first-time callers maybe at some point, but right now we got the vets of the crew.
Yeah, it'd be cool if we had I don't know how you make this work, and have a round table with some of the guys that call in on. That'd be kind of neat. I don't know how that would work, but it'd be kind of neat to talk to everybody. But I even had to reschedule some meetings today to jump on these calls. So I'm dedicated.
Appreciate that. Yeah, move things around. Yeah,
of course. I want to talk about something that Joe and Rob said. So first off, Joe, I think in order to sign those players you talked about, you have to extend Dak, because if you cut Dak, well, now you got dead money, and that's not good. If you don't extend Dak, you've got the $60 million to deal with, and maybe you can still get CD done, but now you're going to have problems down the trough, and you're going to lose some really quality depth, which I think this team, for the most part, has done a good job. You look at some of the injuries we had, especially in the secondary, and they built good depth, so you don't want to lose anything there. And then Rob actually had a point there that I did a study a few years back. And if you look at the quarterback deals over the past 15 years, every quarterback that wasn't named Mahomes or Brady, every single one of them, their cap hit was less than $20 million for that season. And some were on rookie deals. Right. Some were veterans that signed elsewhere. But GMs, that takes a lot of gonads to cut a franchise quarterback if you have one, right? It's too dangerous to not have a franchise quarterback. So you cut that guy, and now you're in quarterback wasteland for 3 years. well, you're gone.
Yeah.
Unless you're Jerry. That's a different story here. But that's tough to do across the league. It's what you should do, probably. It's what the numbers indicate, but too tough to do.
Well, the question is, Dylan, the elephant in the room is, do you have one? Like is Dak a franchise quarterback? That's what I think. That's what I think a lot of fans are wondering, and that they think he's not. Some think he is. But I mean, that's kind of the issue, is he that guy? You know?
Yeah. Let's. If you look at some of the quarterbacks, because I was thinking about this exact question. It's funny you mentioned that. Look at some of the all-time greats that we just got past, or are just getting past now, like Aaron Rodgers, Drew Brees. Some of these guys that their names will go down in history as some of the best have one ring. They've only won the big game once, and the key, I think, is to stay competitive and hope that it all comes together for one season. Maybe two, if you're super lucky, maybe you get two, and then obviously you have the unicorns like Mahomes and Brady and those guys. But I mean, to find those guys, it's a lottery ticket, and that's too tough. But you have to just stay competitive. And if you get rid of Dak, what's the plan? You're going to go with Trey Lance? Okay, well, he's already moved on from one team, and you have no idea what you have there. You're going to draft a quarterback. You're going to trade up a bunch of capital. Now you're in rebuild mode, and you're going to trade a bunch of draft capital for a first-round guy in the high, maybe top 5, top 10, and who knows if he pans out. So I think them extending Dak is the right call. Now, I hope they do it in a way that's friendly, so we're not in a situation again a couple years down the road where we have to do something with Dak. We don't really have a choice. But I think extending Dak is the right call, because you have to stay competitive and hope for one season it all comes together like it did for some of the other guys.
All right. That's good. That's good thought there. All right, Dylan. Appreciate the call.
Thanks.
Thanks for moving meetings around and readjusting your schedule a little bit. I appreciate that. The Dak contract is just, it's the first, to me, well, the head coach is probably the first domino there, and they figured that out. But then now it's on to that. What do they do there? Because this is not an easy situation, because, yes, football's about business and all that stuff, making business decisions, but by not doing any kind of extension, by just playing it out, then that sends a message as well to Dak. Of hey, we're gonna do it this way, and if you have a great year, we'll talk after. And so I don't know if it's lame duck. I don't like saying lame duck quarterback when you're making almost $60 million. Oh, poor Dak. I don't think anyone's gonna be doing that, but still. It's and then also, even if you say, oh, well, let's do an extension, he doesn't have to agree to that. He's got the leverage here, and so they're going to have to handle it the right way. So I go back and forth on this. Sometimes I think they're not going to do anything, and then other times I think they'll get closer to free agency and they'll be like, we got to do something here. We got to do something with Dak's deal. Let's extend him. Let's get this thing. Let's move on. With 2 or 3 more years down the road, and then also we can, function more this year and get some more depth and free agents in here to be competitive. I mean, I wrote an article the other day that this team has to make a splash. They have to. They have to do that this year. Forget this whole. And I said it. I mean, forget this. Even though it's my favorite song of all time. This is how we do it by Montel Jordan. You cannot have a "this is how we do it" mentality when you go into free agency this year. This is not like, well, this is what we always do. This is what this is our plan. We focus more on the draft. You're not gonna get value deals on free agency. No, not this year. BS. No, you've got to go make a move. If there's someone out there, go do it. You did the Gilmore move. Cooks, great. Do it again and do it better. Get better players. Go get a Roquan Smith type of move. Go find who's out there in their last year of their deal, somebody that's probably going to be hit free agency next year, and go get those players. You need players now. And I think, I'm not saying abandon the draft, but I'm saying look at what happened last year. And look at what you got. I mean, you got more value off of the trades than you did, actually drafting players. And they're not going to go away from that. But I do think that in this win now mentality, they need to think about, getting some players in free agency more than they have in the past. I think they have to be aggressive this year. And I'm sure Mike would want to do that because, Mike doesn't have a contract for next year. So why build for the future? I mean, so I think the approach will be different. All right, let's go to Jeff in North Carolina.
What's going on, Nick?
What's up, man?
Not much, man. I've been trying to process all this for 2 weeks, and I tried to call last Tuesday, man. There's just no way I was getting in. I listened to it. I think I dialed 117 times trying to get in. Everybody was really upset, and I was too. But you just touched on some things I've been thinking about, and as far as the roster and everything, and I agree, you cannot run this thing back the same way again. It's just right. Something has to change, and I wish I'm with you kind of a little bit on what you was thinking too about Dak. I wish that we could stomach that, that cap hit just because of what you said. And I've called you all year. I like Dak. I love Dak.
Right.
But it's just, but it's just the business part of it, and maybe it's possible they could do it. The Rams went all in 2 years ago, won the Super Bowl. Then they had to cut some guys, and they was kind of down last year, but then they was right back in the playoffs this year. And so I think it can be done. It's but it would you just have to make some tough decisions on some guys. But I do want to touch on one thing Rob said. One thing I do kind of agree is I think they do get comfortable sometimes, and I was fine with bringing Mike back because all you heard if they let him go, they was going to get Belichick or Harbaugh, and I didn't want none of that. Again, to me, the Cowboys, to get out of this rut, they got to get out of their comfort zone. Now, if you could have told me they was going to bring one of these young up-and-coming coordinators from one of these other teams, I would be fine with that. But I know Jerry, that's a little bit out of Jerry's comfort zone, and I just. But I feel that's what's got to change. I think I have to look at everything. Maybe we don't need to go to California and train. Maybe we need to train back in Texas.
Whoa, Jeff.
I'm just throwing stuff out, Nick. I'm not. I'm like everybody. I'm searching for solutions.
That's what one of the best.
That ain't it.
Yeah, I don't know, man. Beam jumps in too, like
yeah.
It's one of those things too, where your wife calls and you're like, God, it's like 120 degrees at home, and you're like, I'm sorry, you have like a sweatshirt on, it's like 61 degrees, you're like, I'm sorry about that. I don't know about that.
But, I don't know either. I'm just I said, I'm just throwing stuff out there, man.
Yeah, well,
I just feel like they got to change somewhere.
They won Super Bowls in the 70s. They were going to California.
That's right. You're right. I remember.
No,
I'm 60 years old, and I'm thankful that I've got to see them win Super Bowls. I know there's a lot of people who are probably more frustrated than me because they've never seen them win it, so I am thankful for that. And but yeah, I just feel. I watched those two games last weekend. I watched the game between the Packers and the 49ers, and the way that game started, the way both teams were hitting and that intensity, I thought, man,
it was depressing.
Both of them teams are better than the Cowboys.
That was depressing because my initial thought was like, man, we should be in this game. And then I thought, well, both these teams kicked the Cowboys' ass. I mean, both of them.
Yeah.
And it's like, well, maybe you're not that close when you think about that game.
Yeah. That's exactly what I thought. Yeah.
But you're right. I mean, the Bucs, hey, they beat the Eagles. I think the Eagles seemed like they quit a long time ago. And they won their bad division and they got in. It's good for them. I don't put them in the same boat, but Detroit, Green Bay, San Francisco, those teams just, they play football like in a fist fight. And and that's what the Cowboys I think need to get back to.
I mean,
they did beat the Lions, but it was a fight, of course, and
Right.
you know that's just the way that they play, and that's what I think Dallas needs to get back to. But
you think about all the teams that have been knocking us out of the playoffs have been these young, innovative coaches, and I just feel like if we do something different, we don't need another retread, even if it is Bill Belichick. I just think it. You know, I know Jerry. He may not be comfortable with the first-time coach, but I'm just seeing what's happening around the rest of the league, and that might be something that we need to again get out of your comfort zone a little bit. You know, that's kind of why I'm thinking. But anyway, I appreciate you taking my call, and I'll be talking to you some more, and we go ahead and stay out there in California.
All right, Jeff. Hey, have you been to Oxnard? Have you been to training camp out there?
I've never been out there before.
Clearly, because if you have, you would be like, "Oh, this is great."
Yeah.
I mean, you know, it's funny.
Oh, yeah.
McCarthy and Parcells both had the same thing. They both were like, "Why do we train out here? Why do we go?" I don't understand. They get off the plane and they're like, "Oh, this is why." No, and I get it. I mean, and if you want to say, thanks for the call, Jeff. Appreciate it. If you want to say, you know, well, but Jimmy Johnson back in the day, you know, in the 90s, they went to Austin, where it was heat and all that stuff. The NFLPA controls all of that kind of stuff. So, you know, I think they look at it now like if you're going to have practice, you know, you can only practice for so many hours now in a day and so many days in a week. That if you're going to do it, get rid of all the distractions. Go to a place where it's never hot, like really hot, and it's never cold, and it never rains. I mean, the weather is not going to really affect your practice. You can sit for if I got 2 hours, that's all I got. That's all you're giving me. I'm going to have 2 hours of practice where there's really no distractions here, and we're going to go out and we can practice. Wasn't too windy, wasn't too hot, wasn't this or that. And so I think that's kind of the focus. Get them away from family and stuff for a little bit. Focus here. And I don't think that's the problem. I really don't. I think there's a little bit more to it than that. But, hey, but at least, like I always say, throw out some solutions. I mean, if this ain't working, let's figure it out. Let me get one text message question here. This is from the 602 area code. That's Phoenix. Says, linebackers fix our issues. Look at the teams remaining, especially the Niners and the Ravens. Boy, they got 2 linebackers each on those teams. Say Dak doesn't stop the run. Trading him will make the fans miss him more than they could imagine. If Brad Johnson can win a Super Bowl, then Dak can. All quarterbacks need help. There's only Mahomes and one Brady. After that, everyone needs help. I agree, though, with the linebackers. I mean, I agree with that. Dak definitely needs help. They all need help. And, you know, Lamar Jackson's going to win MVP. I mean, he's got some great players there, you know. But he's a weapon, though. He's an outstanding weapon, and he should be MVP. But, you know, it's just – I got some opinions about this comfort zone that you guys are talking about. I don't really think it's that way. I think it's a kind of a glass half full, half empty type thing. And I think Jerry kind of looks at it like – I've got a good team. I've got a team that's 12-5, 12-5, 12-5. I mean, that's never happened here. It doesn't happen in the league that often. It's hard to do that. So I've got that. I'm up here. I just got to fix a couple things there, you know. And I look at this team a lot like the Bills. You know, the Bills firing their coach. I mean, they've been good. I mean, they can't get over the hump. They've been good. They got good talent. They haven't gotten there. That's the goal. That's kind of the way I look at it too. And I just say this. It's not it's not McCarthy's fault. It's not the team's fault that they haven't won in 30 years. That's what the fans are. Their frustration is a 29-year frustration. I get that. This team doesn't have that. This team hasn't won 2 to 3, 3 years in a row here in the playoffs. They haven't won. It's a problem. It's a problem. It's got to get fixed. But it's not a 29-year fix. If you want to throw Jerry in there, that's fine. But then don't sit there and say this team is talented. Because the team is talented. We all know that. So I think sometimes there's a moving target when it comes to what people are arguing about and what they think the issue is. But this is not a 29-year problem for Mike McCarthy and this team right here. It's a 3-year problem. It's a 3-year problem. They've had really good regular seasons, and they've been hit in the face in the playoffs. Hit in the face. And that's something that's absolutely got to be fixed. But you're not talking about a coach that has never done it, has never won it, has never won games in the playoff either. I think that's what the comfort is, that Jerry's comfortable. He's comfortable knowing that he's got a football team that can get there to the end. They've got to figure out how to finish these, this race, this fight, whatever. So that's what's got to happen. You got a baseball team that can get them to the 8th or 9th inning. You got to get a closer. You got to figure that out. But you don't just throw everything away because you're struggling there at the end. That's where I think that's where I think the glass half full, half empty part is. And getting a new head coach, one of these guys that are out there that changes a lot, because they're going to come in and change everything. And maybe that's good, maybe it's not. But I think Jerry looks at it like, I got to tweak a few things more than overhaul a lot. All right, Anthony in Miami.
What's going on, Nick the Quick?
What's up, buddy? Man? How are you?
Hey, I'm doing pretty good, man. The good thing about listening, you have a thought, and then you listen to what you're saying and what the previous caller or something, is saying, and you kind of change your mindset on something. And that's what I want to talk about, mindset.
Anthony, are you changing your whole mindset now?
No. They need some tenacity and a tougher mindset.
Oh, okay.
Like I said, I hope that I don't know if I have to make a plaque or something and send it as presents and put my DAC on them with the DAC, discipline, accountability, and consistency. Man, if I'm not, that's my word. That's my acronym. I made it up. I put those 3 words together, and I gave it to Hanging with the Boys last year, right? Jesse and them loved it right away, said they're going to use it. Man, you got to have that. You, like you say, 12-5, can't really finish. You're getting punched in the mouth all the time. It's your mindset. It's your tenacity, man. It's your will. That's it. That's what you're lacking. You're not discipline, accountability, and consistency. It's really nothing with the play. You can tweak things and you can fix that stuff, man. So with that being said, as I told you, I would call in and say, 53 years old, how long I've did this with the Cowboys? Been a Cowboy since then. Now I'm 54 as of December 17th. So let me give you the perfect example of this. 2 54s. Now I can cover your player thing too. 2 54s. Master and I'm going to call him mess up, can't get right. Sam Williams, right? Master, okay, he's a first-round draft pick. He's All-American, Maryland, okay. But Sam was a second. He's up there. One has a mindset and tenacity. Man, look, he came in at 21, 22, 23. He could have been immature, but he became a dog. And wasn't nobody going to punch him in the mouth. See, Sam makes all these mistakes. You know what I'm saying? Bart does this stuff, acts like he's tough. But then people punch him in the mouth. I saw people knocking him on the ground, and then he's committing all these penalties, and nobody's pulling him to the side. Like I said, I would have grabbed the face mask. That's me. But somebody said, oh, he's big. I don't know about that. Mm-hmm. Man, look, ain't nobody scared of Sam Williams. But that's the mindset, a 54 and a 54. Now, you see what I'm saying? You got to have that. You're going to be tough and act tough. Be tough when it's time to be tough. That's all I'm saying. If they can do that, man, if they can add that to what they already have, I think they'll be all right.
All right.
That's it, man.
All right.
Okay.
Appreciate
all right,
that.
Nick, talk to you next time, bro.
Thanks you. Well, got me writing some stuff down. 54 can go 2 different ways there. Back in the old school, it was Randy White, like he had, and even before him, Chuck Howley. And there's not many numbers that have multiple numbers already in the Ring of Honor. 54 is one of them. 88, of course. 43, 22. But 54, are you a Randy White or a Chuck Howley? Or are you a Bobby Carpenter, Darren Hambrick, Jalen Smith, Sam Williams? They don't just get, 54, if you get 54, there's a reason for it. I don't know about the Darren Hambrick one. That was probably not. But, they gave it to Jalen Smith. They gave it to Sam. They gave it to Carpenter, first, second-round picks. They gave it to guys that were supposed to kind of do this, play at that level, at the standard at 54. They haven't done that, of course. But, Sam, It's going to be interesting because Dorrance Armstrong's a free agent, and Dante Fowler's a free agent, and you don't have a lot of money to be signing these guys, even those guys. I mean, you could probably get them re-signed if you wanted to, but they got a lot of decisions to make. Do they look at Dorrance Armstrong and they say, listen, let's just play with Sam Williams at defensive end? I mean, that's scary considering how many penalties he has in a limited role. And I think you can make the case this year. I think his penalties have been worse than the plays that he's made. He's had a couple. He's blocked a punt, and but he blocked a punt, and then he also had a penalty trying to block a punt too. So he's had some sacks, but he has some penalties as well. So that's going to be a decision that they have to make for sure there. All right, let's go to Tony. He's in Alexandria, Virginia.
Hey, Nick, am I on?
You are on. What's up?
How you doing, sir?
Good.
Man, I'm still trying to digest yet another season ending early. Probably like, the rest of Cowboy Nation is.
Yeah.
As far as the McCarthy coming back, I'm okay with that. And reason being is because, I hear some others talk about, we should have brought in this guy or that guy. But there's no, Nick, there's no guarantee that those guys are going to come in here and have another 12-5 season. I mean, it's not guaranteed that McCarthy's going to have another 12-5 season next year, which I don't. Looking at, and I know we do that. This is a win, that's a loss. But just looking at the people we play next year, I would be hard pressed to get back to another 12-5 record. I mean, they may, but it's going to be difficult. I mean, we play Baltimore. We've got a first place schedule now, whereas last year we didn't, and we weren't picked to win the division. It was Philly. Everyone was picking Philly to win the division, and we won it based on their I call it their epic collapse that they had.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I'm okay with bringing him back, and there's the age-old questions. Well, is it the players or is it the coaches? The coaches coach, but the players have to execute. And I don't know. I'm leaning more toward the players. They just gotta go out there and execute, not make dumb penalties and stuff of that nature. And you and I always one thing that really irks me is the wait. Now that the season's over, we got to wait all the way through the spring and the summer and training camp and the draft and all that stuff. And using our favorite, roller coaster analogy, we've done come off the ride, and now basically, where we're at now, Nick, we're at the back of a 4-hour wait just to get on the roller coaster, because that basically wait is considered, the off season. So before we get back on and strap in our belt and start to tick back up the incline of the roller coaster. So to me, that's the longest. That's the biggest thing that irks me is the wait to
that
next
snake,
season,
where you're going back and forth, staring at the same people. Yeah, it's probably hot,
Right.
Yeah, it doesn't seem fun. You're like, how do we get this fast pass? Everyone keeps jumping the line.
Right, yeah. I
there
thought
isn't
about that
one.
too. When I was calling you, I was like, what if we could get the fast pass and get at the front of the line and get back on? But yeah, I'll always support Cowboy Nation. Just like one caller said, maybe I'm not as because I've seen them win Super Bowls before. But again, like one of my earlier calls, I said I'm more so wanting the Super Bowl not for me now, but for the younger generation that have never seen it. I've got a son now. I would like to celebrate it with him. That's why I want it, because, like I said, I've seen it. But the ones that haven't seen it, that's who I want it for.
Yeah.
That's exactly who I want it for. So, anyways, with that, I'll get off the phone and I'll try and call in another time and go Cowboys.
Yeah, I like that. Good call, Tony. And I can relate to that. Because I want to see it. For others as well, and I'm selfishly too, like I want to see it for my own position, my job. I mean, I've been here. I've been here almost like 25 full calendar years, and people try to ask questions all the time about how do you do this, or what happens here and there. And anyone that was asking questions about what happens at the Super Bowl, I don't know. I don't know. I've never seen it. Never seen a championship game. So selfishly, I'd like to see it for that. I'd like to see this website, like DallasCowboys.com. We've done a really good job over the years. I'll say that. can pat myself on the back. Derek Eagleton, all of the writers we've had, we've done a pretty good job, a really good job actually, of establishing a lot of viewers and readership on teams that really weren't that good. Especially like back in this thing was really getting off the ground in 2000 when we were 5-11 3 years in a row. So I think we've done a pretty good job over 25 years for a team that hasn't gotten to that level yet. I can't imagine what it would be like if we do. I want to see that. But you're right. For the young generation, my kids have never seen it. They don't know. So yeah, it would be awesome for everyone, not just for It's okay to be selfish too. It's okay, but it's you guys, like I said last week, you guys deserve it. Especially the ones listening to this show, listen to any of these shows or on our website. You guys are dedicated fans that just want this team to win, and everyone's got their own ideas on how to get it done. Doesn't always agree with Jerry. I get it. I don't either. I don't always agree with some of the things that they do, but it's just frustrating. It's frustrating when you're watching these games, and I just think when you think of all year long, all season, you just thought it was going to be a better ending, or definitely a different ending than this. All right, let's go to Al in Merkel, Texas.
Hey, Nick, what's going on?
Hey, Al, how are you?
Oh, not good. It's like every time I hear some of these opinions, it just like rubs salt in the wounds. It's just like anytime you lose, everybody's going to come out of the woodwork and say, we need to do this, we need to do that. And it's like, yeah, that works in fantasy football, but not in reality. The one question, I have two questions.
Okay.
And I don't know if it's been addressed on any show. I heard Everson Walls talk about it yesterday on Mixed Shots. But it's like, what was the deal with at the very beginning with Dak and McCarthy and
CD
Lamb? Well,
I don't know.
It was like the very first series, and Dak and him were talking, and all of a sudden McCarthy's over there talking to him. It's like, what is going on? And
well, hold on. Let me say this, because McCarthy did address this. This wasn't like two brothers that were fighting and Dad jumped in. I don't think it was that. It was maybe just okay. We know the defense that Green Bay plays, and it's when you play a big zone defense like that, guys have to make decisions. Guys have to figure out where to sit, how to just work that zone, and that's what he was talking. McCarthy was talking to CD about a particular route, about what this kind of coverage, this look, what we're doing here. And remember, he is the play caller. This isn't the head coach jumping in. This isn't Dad on a long road trip saying, hey, you look out this window, you look out that. No. This is like, hey, I'm the play caller. This is the way I see it. This is how this play is supposed to go. So we might be reading a little bit into that, but not reading too much into the fact that CD was not himself in that game. The way he played. Nobody. You're right. Nobody was. Trent Sieg was himself. He snapped the ball when it was time to snap. He snapped it well. That's it. Maybe Ferguson.
And Ferguson, and also what's his name, the receiver,
Gallup,
13th Gallup.
But was that himself? I mean that was why it was so weird. Everything was upside down. Everything was upside down. CD didn't play well.
World,
yeah.
The Superman or whatever. But the other question I have for you, and hopefully you can correct me if I'm wrong, but this year weren't we supposed to be running and playing a better offense, so our defense could take over and keep us in games? And it seems like maybe after I can't remember exactly what game it was, but it seems like the script was flipped, and all of a sudden here we go again, passing and scoring 40 points, which that's fine, But our defense, I feel like they let us down. Everybody on the DallasCowboys.com basically agreed that at Miami it was the offense that let us down. I don't think so, because Miami had the ball at the very end, and we had our defense on there. I don't care how well you played. The game is not over. It's like, I don't care if you've allowed 7 points or 10 points. You're on the field. You need to stop them, and we didn't stop them. So I don't know what is up with our defense, but I do believe, I have an opinion like everybody else's. They're like, and they all stink. But my opinion is, the offense with, getting some linemen and a running back we should be fine there. I think McCarthy can figure it out. But I think with the defense, we need to figure out how to stop the run, because I think that's what has gashed us for ever since they've exposed the defensive coordinator. But anyway, I love the show, man. I enjoyed this so much this year. I just hate the way it ended. It just sucked so bad. And I'm going to try to call in every now and then, but for the most part, I'm done with football season. It's time to work on golf and other stuff until training camp comes around. But like I said, thank you so much for taking my calls.
Sure.
You and Chris have been awesome. This show is awesome. Like I said, I'll keep on listening probably on YouTube after the fact. But like I said, thanks for everything you've done.
Thank you.
I wish we could have done it differently. But,
I know.
There's always next year, right?
Yep, always next year.
Oh, and one more thing.
Yeah.
One more thing. Everybody's saying, well, Jerry should do it this. Jerry should do it this way. You know what? I used to think Jerry should do it this way. But you know what I figured out? Jerry doesn't have my number on speed dial.
He doesn't?
No.
Huh.
So I'm not getting through. So I can have all the opinions I want about Jerry, but he ain't going to listen.
Yep.
So anyway, you
all
have
right.
a good one, Nick.
Thanks.
Talk to you later.
Appreciate that. All right, Al. Good stuff there. Al at Merkel, Texas. Got a good outlook on things. Let's go to Reggie in Germany. He's probably been holding a while. Reggie.
Hey, what's up, Nick? How you doing, man?
I'm good. How are you?
Oh, like everybody else, man. Trying to lick my wounds, trying to get over this feeling. But Happy New Year. And listen, here's something I got for you. Back in the day, a couple of quarterbacks decided, look, I'm going to take a cut and pay, maybe offer at least to take a cut and pay to benefit the team, and try and give Dak some room to the organization some room to get some good players in there. Maybe I'd like to hear your opinion on that. The other thing is this, that, our team, as I said before, they're just not playing with the intention. I called it game face. What I mean is playing with a certain tenacity, a certain amount of desire, and showing the teams right away, when even if it's the offense starting the game, you have the offensive mind blowing off the ball. You have them blowing up, holes for the back to run through. And you let the other team know, you don't have to wait to get till you get punched in the mouth. You punch the other team in the mouth. And you let them know all we got for you today is bad intentions and bubble gum. And we fresh out of bubble gum.
Mm-hmm.
And this is how it's going to be all day long. And that's what I'm talking about. This team has never showed us that. And they need to show us that. They need to show us that on both sides of the ball.
Yep.
That's my point, Nick.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I definitely think it's when you think of the two things that need to be fixed, I mean, running the ball and stopping the run, I mean, that goes with the offensive line, defensive line. It goes with the big boys, the big tough guys. And I think the toughness, the games they've lost this year are to teams that feel like they've been tougher than them,
Yeah, but I'm just using that as an example. Those two expressions. The defensive backs are going to have to, also tell the receivers on the other side, I'm not giving up anything. I'm going to be right in your hip pocket. Yeah. And play that way. The way Woodson played.
Right.
He let him know. I'm not giving this up to you.
Right. All right. Well, appreciate the call, Reggie.
You got
Hopefully.
It, man. I'm just watching TV all the way over here, man. I got you.
All right. Well, have a good one.
Much love, my peace.
All right. Maybe we'll get to go see Reggie this year. Who knows? Cowboys, they announced some international games. Cowboys are playing at Carolina this year. Carolina is one of the teams going to Germany. After what happened last year, Cowboys in Carolina, they may not want to see the Cowboys there again. I don't know. Kind of took over and announced the Jimmy Johnson move, and some other things happened that day. It was pretty interesting, to say the least. I know. If I had to pick between going back to Carolina or Germany, I would pick Germany. That would be pretty awesome if that happened. So we'll see that'll get announced at some point here this offseason. All right, let's go to we got a text question here. Kevin from Virginia. Do you foresee any of our free agents getting the franchise tag? I don't think so. I don't not this year. I mean, they gave it to Pollard last year. They could tag Pollard again, but that would cost even more. I mean, because it's the second time you do it. I don't have the numbers on the second running back tag, but I'm guessing it'd be around the $12 million mark. I don't think you're going to do that for Pollard. I don't see any other position, any other free agent. I mean, they could if they really wanted to do that with Biotish. That would be one, but I just don't see that happening. I don't think they're going to bring him back. I think he's going to test the market. I think he's going to get paid pretty well, and I think the Cowboys are okay with that. So, just thinking of some of the other guys, I don't think so. You look at the free agents, franchise tag is a huge number. It's top. It's I think an average of the top 5 at that position. So when you think of the Dorrance Armstrongs and Stephon Gilmore, players like that, and you think about what the franchise number would be, I don't think so. I don't really see the Cowboys having that because they really don't have, other than Pollard and Biotish. I'm not seeing a lot of your number one guys. Tyron, that'll have to be a tricky situation if they want to bring him back. It'll have to be something that they figure out, and how it works, kind of like they did before. All right, real quick here. Let's go, Matt in Los Angeles.
Hey, what's up, man? Thanks for taking my call.
What's up, Matt? How you doing? First time call?
First time caller. First time catching it live. I'm on the road, so I'm usually catching recordings. But I got the same birthday as Evan, May 15th, so I'm a long-time diehard Cowboys fan.
All right,
but
cool.
I got 2 questions. One of them, the first one's really quick. Do you know if Dak has a sports therapist? Because he clearly, his body language and his facial expressions, he clearly tenses up and doesn't play himself in these big, mainly the playoff games. He's played very well in big games in the regular season. But a lot of top athletes, top performers in life have, like mental coaches. Do you know if he has one?
I think he does. I think he does, but I don't think it's something I don't know how public he is, and I don't know if he would necessarily. I don't know if he calls it that. Honestly, okay. I don't know. He's got a team of people that he works with, but I don't know if he calls it a sports. Because
Russell Wilson, sports therapist, came into the talk at our county at a company meeting, and it was just fantastic. And
how's that working? Honestly, I'm not trying to be funny, but I mean, how's
that therapist passed away a couple years ago?
Well, that's not.
But,
I didn't know that. I'm saying.
I told him. I get it. He was his therapist through the Super Bowl run. You know what I mean?
Okay.
But I feel like everybody, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
I love that to death. It's not me picking on him, but you would have to be blind to not realize that against the Niners, against the Packers, in these big-time playoff games, his body language, his facial expressions, it's not.
Let me ask you this, though, Matt. Let me ask you this.
Yeah.
Because was the Packer game a big game? I mean, was that a big game to you? I mean, that was just a wild. Oh, it was a big game. Okay, it's
a playoff game.
Exactly.
You haven't done shit. Sorry, 30 years. I feel like every playoff game.
But my point is that and this happens a lot with Cowboy fans. They do it a lot during the regular season. The Cowboy fans only call it a big game if the Cowboys didn't win it. Like you conveniently skipped the Buccaneers game when he played his best football game of his life, but that I guess wasn't a big game because it was just the Bucs against Tom Brady. You know what I mean?
Okay, so you're right. No, you're right. So nothing's 100%. You're right. Any statement, I stand corrected. And I said he played well in big games in the regular season. I said that to start out my call.
Mm-hmm.
I said he played well.
Okay.
Against Miami, he played great. I was at the Chargers game. He's the one who carried him to that win. Buffalo wasn't even really on him. That goes to my next question about Dan Quinn. But, I mean, do you disagree agree with me that you can tell by his body language and facial expressions that he was a different human in that Packers game and against the Niners last year? Even at the Niners this year. I mean, he's not flowing like Dak.
Yeah.
You know?
They played like crap.
He even acknowledged that he was going through his reads too fast.
Yeah.
Like, calm down. You know what I mean? Like, it's easy for me to say I'm a dummy driving a car for a living. I get all of that, right?
No,
but I don't know.
I know.
I feel like any top performer in life has one, regardless of what you do.
Yeah.
And I was just curious if he did.
I honestly don't. I don't know to what extent that he, of the teams that he has surrounding him. I know there's a lot of people, but I don't necessarily know all of that. And clearly things haven't been the same. He hasn't played like we've seen. It's not like he was throwing for 350 yards and like the Josh Allen loss 3 years ago against the Chiefs was like last guy to get the ball. I mean, they've lost these playoff games because he didn't play well in those games.
You stole the words out of my mouth with Josh Allen. No one's gonna they're not losing because of him, and you're never losing because of one player. But Josh Allen is playing his butt off in all those games that he loses, right? So my next question, I didn't expect that to be a discussion, but all good. But my next question was about Dan Quinn, right? Like, again, I'm a dummy, out-of-shape suburban dad, and I could watch these football games, and, like, against Buffalo comes to mind. The Niners didn't run all over them. I don't know why people say that. But and then, like, this Packers game where they're getting the ball run down their throat, and they're sticking with lighter personnel. Am I missing something? And then also, the Packers or Jordan Love is really good against man coverage, not good against zone. So we tried to go zone. That clearly wasn't working. And man is our strength, and zone is not our strength. So when you try to scheme against them and it's not working, why not just go back to our strength? Like, what am I missing there?
Yeah.
If I'm a dummy that can recognize that, how is someone like Dan Quinn not recognizing that? And do you think this is what he needs to see to go against a 205-pound Marquise Bell linebacker?
I'm with you on that. The word on the street is that Gilmore's injury was a lot worse than it seemed, and that they felt like that's the best way that they could have played it with him.
I read that too.
But the Marquise Bell, like the linebacker spot, I'm not with you. I'm with you on that. Like I just don't understand it, and it hurt him all year in games where teams jumped up on him and said, "Hey, we're going to attack this. We're going to score. We're going to get a lead. We're going to keep doing it." And they just don't. I don't think they value the linebacker position like I think they should, and I think they value it like every down is going to be 3rd and 7. And what do our linebackers do against their tight end when, you know what? If you're getting run over, it's never 3rd and 7. It's 3rd and 1, or if that,
Well, the argument is, if our deep tackles played better, then it wouldn't matter as much. Okay, sure, that's great. But what happens if your deep tackles aren't playing to their elite level?
Right.
You get this,
Yeah. I mean, so they got to fix the run 100%. They've got to fix the run because not only does it help you win games, but it's also a mentality. Like getting run on is demoralizing. And so, I think good, tough football teams don't get run on. So I think that'll kind of start from there. So, all right. Well,
I just think O-line, linebacker, and corner have got to be 3 big positions going into the draft and free agency.
Yeah. Well, I agree. And you need a running back at some point. I mean, you got to get it back. So I'd have to throw that part in there too, just because your top 2 running backs are free agents, and they needed to be better than what they were. So you got to throw that in.
Will Saquon be unrestricted or no?
I'm not sure his contract, honestly. I really don't know. And if I did, we wouldn't talk specifically about it. But if he's an unrestricted free agent, I don't know.
Got it.
Hey, I mean, they're gonna have to figure. They have to run the ball better. I still think it's an offensive line thing. A center, guards. They gotta figure out what they're doing there up front, right there in the middle. All right. Thanks for the call, Matt.
Right,
Let's go to Mike in Bowling Green. Mike, you there?
I am.
What's up, man?
Yeah, man. I work for AT&T. I just got done with an install, clocked out for lunch, and then I saw a report saying Quinn was coming back, and so I'd see if you were still on.
Yeah.
I'm not crazy about if that's true. I was happy that they brought Mike McCarthy back. I was wanting that. But with Quinn's record against the coaching tree, the Shanahan coaching tree, I think I wanted to see somebody different.
Yeah. Well, you got me on that. I'm on there. I don't know if that's official. The last thought that I'd heard, he was doing interviews, and interviewing with 3 or 4 teams. So if that happened, but I can speak to the fact that, I think that there's some things that need to change with the defense. Whoever the coordinator is, this team needs to have. I think I have a different philosophy when it comes, like I just said, about the linebacker position, about what they do, there and how they handle stopping the run, and what kind of body types are they looking for there. I think a lot of these guys are undersized, so I think that's the biggest thing that has to change on defense.
Yeah, the report came from Ed Warder. He said Dallas Cowboys expecting Dan Quinn to return as Mike McCarthy's defensive coordinator.
Okay. Well,
so I was like, I was kind of looking forward to something new, but then I was thinking by the time he finds something, I mean, there's not going to be much left out there. So I guess he's probably the best bet.
Well, I mean, yeah, you're trying to figure out how to run it back, and if you want to, like if they want to do that, I agree with you. At some point there needs to be there has to be some kind of change here. You can't just keep doing the same thing. So it sounds like the head coach is coming back. It looks like the quarterback's coming back, and if the defensive coordinator is coming back, if that happens, then they have to figure out what is going to change. I mean, how are you going to be better? Look at that schedule. Those teams aren't going anywhere. I mean, those teams are going to be good. Ravens will be good next year. I can promise you, Bengals, the Browns, the Steelers, they're going to be tough games. So you've got to be better than what you were to even be 12-5. So how are you going to get better? Like that's where I think the question that's what the Cowboys have to figure out.
Well, maybe we just need to do it different.
All right.
Slip into the playoffs.
Yep. All right. Well, we'll see. We'll see what happens. We'll see what's going on. I still think Dan Quinn is interviewing for other positions. So it looks like there's going to be some, there could be some changes there. I'm not sure exactly what you read and if that's new or not. Could be, but even so, Cowboys got to figure out how to make some changes here. All right. It's been a good show. We went an hour, 15 minutes. Got our 11 calls in. Great stuff. Great to hear from a lot of you guys that have called all year long. And we're going to do a different schedule, obviously, this offseason. But so far, so good. You guys handled it great. Can't wait to pick up some more new callers. We're going to do it again on Thursday at 1 o'clock. So for Chris Beam, I'm Nick Eatman. We will see you on Thursday on Cowboy Storyline.
This has been a production of DallasCowboys.com and the Dallas Cowboys Football Club.
How about this, Cowboys? Yeah!